friends, Tiffany here. Welcome to my quilting life. Week 12. Yes, we're on week 12. So for week 12 of the Skulliver sew along, we are going to do pages. Hold on 2 seconds. Here we go. 74, 75. Yep. We're in the 70s. 76, 77, 78, 79, and 80. So we're going to do 7 pages this week for week 12, 74 through 80. I mean, we're getting there. There's like 120 something pages, I think. Did I look? No. There's a lot of pages. But we're getting close with piecing the pages together before we start putting the pieces together to create the one whole block. So if you guys haven't checked out the legit kits for the Skulliver, it's linked somewhere up here. Scott has already pulled my colors. I'm going to go ahead and just cut everything up and get it ready to start sewing. So I will meet you at the sewing machine. All right, let's get started. Page 74 is our first page. I'm going to go ahead and cut away all this extra paper because it's not needed. I'm going to even cut away the extra paper down here too because I don't need it. And then we're going to go ahead and fold on our lines. So again, this page 74 or E8C. I'm going to go ahead and fold all the lines. My colors are in my throat space. Just make sure that we fold on these lines. Again, this is the part that probably takes the longest. But we want to make sure they're pre-folded. It seems to work easier that way. Okay, lines are folded. We're going to go with our first piece, which is AN, which is candy green. AN, so that's about where it's going to go. I'm going to line it up to the way I cut it. I'm using my light to make sure I come down a bit, about right here. Looks good, looks good, looks good. That's where I want it. I do have a little extra area down here at the bottom where I can sew it in place and hope that the rest of it just stays on its own. So I know where it's going. Piece 2 is OK, which is peacock. So we're going to fold between 1 and 2. We're going to make a nice seam allowance. Cut that away. And then we're going to grab piece 2, which is OK. Again, that was peacock. This is the way I cut it. So I'm going to hold the side that I'm using. Just going to lay that on there. I have a nice straight line here and there. I'm just going to make sure it covers, and it does right there. So I'm going to go ahead and sew between 1 and 2. So I'm going to hold it in place. Again, making sure that you have a 1.5 or 1.8 stitch length. Oh, that's perfect. All right, so that's good. I'm going to go ahead and stitch that side down so that it stays. And give me a moment. I'm going to remove my sweatshirt because it's oversized and knocking everything over. Okay. we're going to move on to PN or spot 3. PN is Prussian. So I'm going to go ahead and peel that away, fold on my line, cut the excess away. Much better without the sweatshirt. I highly recommend not having baggy clothes right now because of the way we're positioned. So we're going to go ahead and grab PN. I'm going to see which way I cut this thing. And it looks like this direction. So I'm going to go ahead and hook it right here. We're going to fold it back and make sure that it covers right there. And it does. That's the spot I want it. Just going to adjust it a little bit right here at this edge. There we go. So I'm going to sew between 2 and 3. I'm going to fold it back now and make sure that it covers where it's supposed to. It does. I do need to get rid of some of that seam allowance though. Come on, line up. We're just getting rid of slivers. Okay, so let's roll that back so that it stays nice and crisp. All right, and now that's on there. Just going to give a little stitch right here at the bottom. That way it stays in its place. We're going to go to spot 4, O-N. Oh, no. 4 is P-O, which is pool. All right, so this is the way. Oh, let's actually create a nice straight line first. That would be smart. So let's go ahead and do this first. Now, here's P-O right there for pool. We're going to line this right here. That's the side I'm sewing. I'm going to hook that up right to that. I'm going to fold it back and make sure it covers. It does. And then hold it and sew it. All right, between 1 and 4 is sewn. I don't really need to get rid of that seam allowance because it's pretty good right there. Yep, that's plenty perfect. Just going to split it open. Again, if you see your stitches, it means you don't have a tight enough stitch length. Okay, now we're going to fold between 4 and 5. Make a seam allowance. And then grab UG. So here's UG. I'm going to see, is it this way that I cut it? No. This way, that way, that way. That's the way I cut it right there. That's the side I want to sew. Right here, we're just going to make sure it covers like it's supposed to, and it does. Right there. Perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch that on here. Gotta come that way. Gotta make sure. Okay, here we go. Sew that on there. Making sure. Okay, good. That's good. So, E8C or page 74 is now done. It just needs to be pressed and trimmed. So I'm just going to place that aside. We're going to move on to this next one. This one has a bunch of little pieces. Just going to put those in the throat space. We're going to cut all this extra paper away. So this is page 75 or E8D. All right, spot 1 is CL, but first let's fold. I almost forgot there. I was like, wait a second, it's not folded yet. Okay. There we go. Foldy, foldy. Folding the paper. Woo-hoo. Sorry. I know. I'm in a mood today. Okay. There we go. Where were we? CL. CL is celestial. So that's spot 1. I'm going to go ahead and make sure with the light. We're going to put that there. And oh, yes, that's going to go right there. So let's line it up. 100% perfect right there. I'm just going to hold it with my hand. I'm going to put a stitch right there and a stitch on this side. Just like that to hold it in place so that way I don't need a pin. We're going to fold between 1 and 2, make a seam allowance, and then we'll grab number 2's piece, which is OS. OS is Oasis, so that would be this guy right here, and that's the way I cut it. So I'm just going to hold it, fold it, I mean not fold it, hold it, flip it, sew it. And let's make sure that's where I want it to be. Nope, we got to scoot this way some. Because we want that 1/4 inch on both sides. A bit that way. There we go. That's where I want it. I don't want to have to rip today. The goal is no ripping today. Can we go all of week 12 without ripping anything? Ooh, that goes good. We're going to roll it back, splitting it with my fingers, rolling it with my wood roller. Nice and crisp. All right, between 2 and 3, we're going to fold it. Let's peel our paper away right there to the line. Ooh, it needs to go more than that. Paper ripped. There we go. Okay, we're going to go ahead and create. Oh, we're on 3, 2 and 3. I knew it looked funny. You guys should have told me. I was holding it all weird. Ay, ay, ay. I knew it looked funny. All right, PN for spot 3. PN is Prussian again. We had this in the last one. How did I cut this out? Just like this. We're going to go ahead and lay it here. I'm going to make sure by rolling it back, going, oh, yay, that's where it goes. It's on there nicely. I won't have to cut that seam allowance away because it's laying pretty good. Between 2 and 3 is now sewn. I'm going to go ahead and, oops, I almost grabbed the rotary cutter to roll that back. Okay. Now between 3 and 4, now we can pull that paper away. It's really stuck right there. Okay. Let's create our seam allowance, at least the start of it. Never know what extras we have to cut off after, but that just gives me the general idea. All right, ON is ocean. That would be this darker blue. This is the way it's cut. Makes it easy. It was cut from a corner. I'm going to go ahead and sew it. I won't even have to cut away any excess seam allowance because it was cut just right for that section. I'm going to go ahead and roll it. And I'm going to also put a little stitch right here, holding it down. That way it doesn't move. We're going to move over to 5, which is SS, which turns out is azure. I don't know. Sometimes I cannot pronounce things correctly. All right, so we're going to peel the, there we go, away, peel it away, fold it on the line. This piece of paper is not coming like the rest of them. It's going to drive me crazy. All right, here we go. We're folded on the line. Let's create that lovely exact seam allowance. SS, what did I say it was again? Azure, that's this pretty blue. And it's cut this way, so I'm going to go ahead and flip it over Put that here. We're going to roll it back and go, oh, hey, look, it covers it. And that one will have a nice straight seam. I won't have to get rid of any excess seam allowance on this either. Just lining it up nicely and sewing between 2 and 5. Okay, so let's roll that back. There's a little bit of a, let's get rid of that. It's from the shredding of the fabric. Gets in the seams. Oops. Yep, throw my stuff. Throwing it. I'm throwing it. That's what I'm doing today. All right, now between 5 and 6, I'm just going to peel the paper back again. I definitely don't want the paper stuck in these little corners. I mean, it will come away in the wash, you know, once the quilt is washed or whatever, but I don't want it there, so I'm going to remove the paper from that. We're just going to go right there, make a nice, beautiful seam right there, and grab PD. PD is pond. It goes that way. So I'm going to hold it on this side, flip it to this side, go, okay, that's going to go right there. Looks good. Line it up and sew it. Fold it back and go, okay, it covers where it's supposed to. I'm going to go ahead and roll it. And then I'm also going to put a little stitch right here to keep that little piece held down. So there we have it, piece E8D, or page 75, complete. Page 76 is a fairly simple one. 76 is just 2 pieces. It is our P, which is black, and QF, which is dragon fruit. So let's line up this P first and make sure where it goes. We're going to tack stitch it down. I'm definitely going to go this way with it. I want to make sure that everything is the way I want it. That's where I want it. Hopefully it stays perfectly right there. I'm going to stitch it right here. I'm going to break thread, stitch it down here. Break thread and stitch it up here. And right here. I really want it held down. I'm stitching in the seam allowance. All right, that's fully held down. So you can see my stitches. Those white stitches will be in the seam allowance. So I don't have to worry about any of those. I'm just going to go ahead and fold this, even though I've already stitched that on there. I'm going to fold this now. And then we'll stitch that piece on, since this is only 2 pieces for this page. That's why I went with 7 pages this week, because we had a nice big one to work with. So I'm going to go ahead now and make that a nice straight edge seam, put the piece on it and sew it. All right. It's going to go right here. So I'm just going to flip this over, line this edge up right here. Just like that. We're going to make sure by flipping it that it goes where it's supposed to. There we go, right there. That's where I want it. Right there and right there. I'm going to go ahead and sew between 1 and 2. And there. Folds back perfectly. I'm going to get rid of that excess on the pink. And look at that. This one was simple and easy. So all I'm going to do is roll it back. I'm spreading the seam open and rolling, making it nice and crisp. Ooh, so we had some shredding right here. Let's get rid of that. All fabric shreds, so don't worry if it happens, just get it out of the seam. Or you can do it when you're done with the quilt or quilting the quilt. Like most of the times I get it out of the seam when I'm quilting, but I'm just gonna put a little stitch right here to hold that down. There we have it. So F1 or page 76 is done. That was easy. We're gonna move on. Page 77. It has 4 pieces to it, but the first thing we're going to do is get rid of all this extra paper. All right, let's fold our lines. And I'm throwing things still. All right, so let's fold all these up. All right, and third line, 4 pieces, 3 sew lines. Look at that. All right. All right, piece 1 is ML. ML is melon. So let's grab that piece 1. We're going to line it up right here. That's about where it needs to sit. So let's put the paper over it. Just want to make sure it lands in this corner right here. And it does. So I'm going to sew 2 of the sides. Let's move this light out of the way. I just want to hold the piece. I'm going to make sure before I sew the bottom. Nothing shifted. Who needs pins when you can just sew it in place? All right, let's fold between 1 and 2. Let's make a nice, beautiful 1/4 inch seam. Piece 2 is AR. AR is carnation. That would be this one. And as I can see just right off the top, this is the side I'm sewing. So I'm going to go ahead and lay that on there. I'm also going to roll it back and make sure that it's covering, and it is, or it is not right there. Come up just a little bit. Let's try that again. Come up just a little bit more. And perfect, right there. That's where I want it. I'm going to go ahead and sew between 1 and 2. Notice I don't always sew with my piece on the right or the left. It always kind of alternates by how the paper is laying. Let's make this a nice, or just a tiny sliver off of here before I roll it back. Literally, that was the smallest sliver ever. I could have just left it. All right, I'm going to go ahead and fold it back. Oh yeah, it covers it plenty. Let's roll it. Rolling, rolling, rolling. Rolling our Skulliver pieces. Okay. Number 2 and 3. It looks like 4 goes on after, so we're going to go between 2 and 3. We're going to roll that back. And this. And then LL is that one. LL is wood rose, so that's going to go here just like this. I'm going to go ahead and just line this up right here. Before I do anything though, I'm going to make sure, and no way, that is not going like that. There we go. Goes right there. It's about right here. I'm going to make sure that it covers the gray on both sides, because some of these angled pieces, it totally changes once you sew it. So as you can see, sometimes my fabric is on the right-hand side and sometimes the fabric is on the left when I'm sewing these. Just know you work with it how you are comfortable, and that made it comfortable for me. Okay, so that one's on there. I don't need to trim anything from that, but I do need to get rid of this shredded seam piece. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and roll it back. I'm also going to put a nice stitch down here to hold it down because it's a wild little piece. He just wants to float around. All right, now between 2 and 4, fold on the line, cut it away, and LL again, which is wood rose. Looks like it's going to go this way. We're going to go ahead, flip it over, stick it on here, and go, does that work? Yep, that works right there, just like that. Okay, here we go. Stitch that down. Perfect. And I don't need to get rid of no seam allowance either. Looks good. And I'm going to go ahead and put a little stitch right there too. Okay, so we have F2A. Oh man, that was not flat right there, but we're gonna there we go. It had a little bubble in the paper. All right, so that was page 77 or F2A. Done. Look at that. Next. All right, 78. This one is a long skinny piece. We're going to go ahead and cut both sides of all this extra paper. Cut down there. And we're going to go ahead and fold on all of our lines. We're going to refer to it as F2B now because I cut off a page number. So I technically don't know what page number it is. Okay, 2 down there and a bunch up here. Right there. And foldy, foldy right there. And a foldy, foldy right here. All right. 1 is AR, which is carnation. So let's bring this up here, grab our piece. I'm just going to go ahead and lay it right on top like this, and I'm going to sew on both sides like a pin. Side 1, we're going to make sure it stays nice and flat so we don't ripple the paper. There's my pin holding it in place. We're going to go ahead and go to spot 2, which is PX, which is, I don't know how to say that one, peony. It's peony. So we're going to grab peony after we get ourselves a nice seam allowance right there. So that would be this lighter pink. Let's see, how did I cut it? This way, that way? I don't think it really matters. It's a triangle. It might be best this direction. So I'm going to go ahead and lay that nice straight edge here. And roll it back and go, hey, look at that. It covers it perfectly. Yep, there we go. That's where it's going to go. Fold it over. So roll it back. Oh, yay, it covers beautifully. I'm just going to finger press. Quick roll. All right, let's cut a nice line between 2 and 3. All right, 3 is OG. OG is orangeade. Let's just say it's like orange grenade, all in one word. All right, so we're going to go right here with it. I'm going to make sure that it's covering it, and it is. Let's line that up nicely and hold it and sew it. Okay, I'm going to roll it back. was a 1/4 inch seam all the way. Okay. We're going to go ahead. I'm just doing my finger for that one. We're going to fold between 3 and 4 now. And we're going to make this a nice seam allowance, although it's already kind of a 1/4 inch. So we're just making it a little bit better. And LL, which was wood rose. I'm going to assume it goes that way because that's kind of obvious. I'm just going to line it up. And that's where it's going to go, right there. So I'm going to go ahead, stitch that down. Right here. Let's make sure it covers it, and it does. I'm going to go ahead and straighten that seam allowance up a little bit better so that it's nice. We're going to go ahead and roll that back. And I'm going to put a little stitch right here. And then we're going to go to spot 5, which is BP. That's blush pink. I'm going to go ahead and fold on my line. We're going to make that seam allowance. And I'm going to grab the little tiny piece for BP. Does it go that way or does it go that way? It goes this way. So that's the side I want to sew. That's the side I'm going to line up. Just like that. We're going to flip it over and sew this little tiny piece on. I'm just going to roll it back. I really don't need to cut much away from that. It's plenty oversized. All right, 5 and 6. Let's roll that back. And make the cut. And put QF on here, which is dragon fruit. It looks to be cut like this. So I'm just going to put it up here like this. We're going to fold it back and make sure, again, these angled pieces, they do roll back differently. So you have to adjust it right or left a little bit as you see the seam allowance, or else it doesn't lay correctly. Okay, and I'm going to leave that seam allowance. It's no big deal. This is covering the paper all the way to the corner. Oh, that's so perfect. I'm going to go ahead and just put a little stitch down here at the bottom to keep it from shifting and adjusting. And our piece F2B is now done, or page whatever it was, because I don't remember. All right, I'm going to go ahead and put you in fast forward while I finish 79 and 80. So there's 3 pieces left to sew. So I'm just going to speed it up. There we have it. Week 12, pages 74 through 80. Did I say that? Yeah, whatever. Whatever we just did that I told you in the beginning we were going to do, that's what we did. I don't know why I can't remember things like 20 minutes later. Actually, it's been like 2.5 hours. But so Skulliver, week 12, complete. Everything's filed away. I'm just going to go ahead and let you guys go. Don't forget, breathe, because you got this. Oh, and guess what? I didn't have to seam rip. I didn't have to seam rip. I totally forgot to say that like 5 seconds ago. But anyways, I'm going. Bye. Bye.